The desert wind blew across the battlefield as the sky burned orange with smoke. The smell of ash and metal filled the air. Broken machines lay in pieces around the cliffs. In the middle of it all stood a human man, bruised but breathing, surrounded by enemies with sharp weapons drawn. His name was Jace, and he didn't know why the aliens wanted him dead. Only that they came from the sky and started killing anything that looked like him. The first attack came without warning. Cities turned to dust in seconds. People vanished in flashes of red light. Earth fell in one day. Jace was one of the few who escaped. He didn't run far. He didn't hide. Instead, he picked up a blade from the ruins. It was an old piece of junk, rusty and cracked, but he held it like it meant something, like it could still cut through the lies of the galaxy. They called themselves the Valari, tall, blue-skinned, and full of pride. They ruled 20 star systems with fire and fear. To them, humans were nothing but dirt under their boots. But Jace didn't bow. Not when they captured him. Not when they dragged him to their desert world to face their warrior queen. Her name was Kaylee, and she had never lost a fight. Her soldiers watched as she stepped forward, calm and cold. She raised her hand and slapped Jace across the face. The strike echoed through the canyon. The crowd waited to hear him beg, but he didn't flinch. "That's for being human," Kaylee said. Her voice was sharp, her eyes glowing with rage. She stepped back, expecting silence. Jace rubbed his jaw and stared at her. Then he smiled, slow and dangerous. "Then you'll love my next trick," he said. That was when everything changed. A blast from the ridge above shook the canyon. Smoke poured down the rocks. 2 alien guards screamed as they fell. And from behind the dust, a shadow leapt into the chaos. It wasn't part of the plan. Jace had no plan, but someone else had been watching. Another prisoner, forgotten and caged. She was small, fast, and carried a blade made from bone. She sliced through the guards without a word. Her eyes met Jace's for a moment. She nodded once. Kaylee stepped back as her guards fell. She raised her spear, spinning it in one hand. Jace ducked low, grabbed a weapon from the ground, and faced her. The crowd was gone now, scattered by fear and smoke. It was just him and the queen. Just flesh and bone and pride. This wasn't about species anymore. It wasn't about war or rules. It was about respect. About proving that one broken human could still stand in the heart of the enemy's empire and say, "I am not afraid." Kaylee moved like lightning, her spear slicing through the air. Jace blocked with the broken metal rod in his hand. Sparks flew. Each strike from her was meant to kill. Each block from him was just enough to stay alive. Dust kicked up around them as they fought between the rocks. He had no training in their style. He had no armor like theirs. But he had pain, and pain made him fast. It made him sharp. He used the jagged ground to stay low, to roll, to surprise her. She snarled as he ducked under her final sweep and slammed his shoulder into her chest. She stumbled back, surprised. No one had touched her in a fight for years, not without permission. Jace didn't wait. He pressed forward, swinging wide. She ducked, rolled, and kicked him in the ribs. He gasped but stayed standing. She raised her spear again with fury in her eyes. The crowd had returned. They stood on ledges above the canyon, watching in silence. Warriors, nobles, even children of the Valari, all waited to see their queen crush the human. But instead, they saw something else. A fight that wasn't so one-sided. A human who refused to kneel, one of the Valari generals whispered to another. "He's bleeding, but still fighting." "How?" The other shrugged. "Because we've mistaken fire for ash. This one burns still." Jace didn't hear them. He focused only on her eyes, her hands, her feet. She moved like a storm. He moved like a shadow. Then the girl from before appeared again. The one with the bone blade. She rushed behind Kaylee, ready to strike, but Jace shouted, "No!" His voice echoed off the rocks. Kaylee turned in time, spinning her spear between them and knocking the girl back with the wooden end. The girl hit the ground hard. Jace ran to her, blocking Kaylee's next strike. The queen paused. You protect her? She asked. A stranger to you? Jace nodded slowly. No one else did, he said. So I will. Kylri lowered her spear slightly, just for a moment. Something shifted in the air, not just the dust or the heat, but something deeper. A silence before a new sound. From above, a deep hum filled the sky. The crowd looked up. A human ship, old and broken, drifted low over the cliffs. It bore Earth's faded flags. It had no weapons left, only a voice. Stand down, came the voice through static. He is not your enemy, he is your answer. Kylri narrowed her eyes. She didn't look up. She only looked at Jace. Do you know what they're talking about? She asked. Jace shook his head. No, but I'm tired of being a question. The ship hovered in place. Dozens of Valari guards rushed into the canyon, weapons drawn. But Kylri raised her hand. No, she ordered. Let them speak. The guards froze. The girl on. The ground stood again, slowly. Jace helped her up. The queen stared at him in silence. Jace could feel the world shifting around him. Something old was waking up. Not a weapon, not a bomb, but a memory. Something buried in the Valari's past. And somehow he was part of it. Not by blood, not by name, but by fate. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. You slapped me because I'm human, he said, but maybe that's exactly why I'm here. Because I'm not one of you, but I'm not afraid of you either. Kylri stared at Jace, her hand still raised but not striking. The canyon was quiet except for the slow hum of the old human ship above. She stepped back slowly, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke, her voice calm but sharp. You speak of fear, she said. But fear is not weakness. It is what keeps us alive. Jace nodded. Yes, but what we do despite fear, that's what makes us more than animals. Her eyes narrowed. He didn't back down. Not this time. The alien girl with the bone blade stood beside Jace now. She looked up at the queen, eyes steady. He helped me, she said. No one else ever did. Not even your warriors. The queen's gaze shifted to her, then back to Jace. What is your name, human? She asked. Jace, he answered. Just Jace. Her brow lifted. Strange, there is a tale among the elders, of a human with that name. Long ago. A man who led a rebellion not with weapons but with words. He made the first peace between Valari and Earthkind. Jace frowned. I'm not him, he said. I never heard of him. Kylri gave a slow nod. Perhaps not. But names echo through time. They return when needed most. She turned, her back to him, walking toward the edge of the cliff. Her warriors watched her confused. Bring him to the council chambers, she ordered. And the girl too. They will speak before the circle. One of the guards hesitated. Your Majesty, he is an outsider. Kylri turned her head slightly. And yet he stood when our own fell. That means something. Jace didn't understand the customs, but he understood power when he saw it. Kylri was not just a fighter. She was a leader, one with burdens behind her eyes. As they walked through the rocky paths, he noticed how the others stared at him, some with anger, some with fear, a few with curiosity. The chambers were built inside a massive cliff wall. Glowing crystals lined the inside, pulsing with soft light. Elders sat in a half circle, their robes long and heavy. They did not speak, at first, only watched him with quiet judgment. The girl stood beside him, calm but ready. One of the elders finally spoke. You are human. You are uninvited. Why have you come? Jace opened his mouth, then paused. He didn't have a clever speech. He had only truth. I didn't come by choice. Your people took me. And yet, I stayed standing. I fought. Not to win. Just to be heard. Another elder leaned forward. We do not hear with noise. We hear with meaning. What is it you want? Jace looked around. Not to beg, not to kneel, just to show you that maybe humans are not what you think. Maybe we're not weak. Maybe we're not slaves. Maybe we're the spark you've forgotten. The chamber was silent for a long time. Then Kylri stepped forward. He speaks boldly, and his courage may be his shield, but if we are to hear him, we must see him act. She looked at Jace. One test, one trial. If you pass, you live. If not, your fire dies here. Jace took a slow breath. Then show me the trial, he said, because I'm done being the hunted. The trial grounds were hidden beneath the cliffs, deep in the heart of the Valari city. Jace followed Kylri and her guards down a narrow path lit by glowing roots in the walls. The air was warm and thick with silence. No one spoke as they walked deeper into the earth. Jace clenched his fists. Every part of him ached from the earlier fight, but he didn't complain. He couldn't afford to. His steps echoed behind Kylri's. The alien girl with the bone blade trailed behind, quiet, but watching everything. Finally, they reached a large stone chamber. The ground was cracked and scorched, marked with signs of past battles. At the far end stood a cage made of twisted metal and bone. Inside, something growled low and deep, shaking the floor under their feet. Kylri stepped forward and turned to face Jace. This is the trial of worth, she said. Only the one who can silence the beast may earn the right to speak before the circle again. Jace stared at the cage. What is it? She didn't blink. A thing made from our past mistakes. A guard pulled a lever. The cage door opened with a sharp hiss. The beast stepped into the light. It had 4 legs, black fur like iron threads, and red eyes that burned like fire. It moved slow at first, then lunged with a roar. Jace barely dodged the first swipe. The ground cracked under the beast's claws. Jace rolled, grabbed a staff from the wall, and faced it head-on. He had no armor, no shield, just instinct and the will to survive. The beast came again, faster this time. He ducked and slammed the staff into its side. It howled but didn't fall. Instead, it turned sharper, more focused. Jace backed up, trying to stay near the wall. He needed a plan. He needed more than strength. He needed to think like a survivor. He scanned the chamber, spotted loose stones above. He ran toward the center, baiting the beast to follow. As it charged, he kicked off the ground and jumped onto a broken pillar. The beast hit the base hard. Dust rained from above. Jace slammed the staff against a weak spot in the rock. A chunk of the ceiling cracked loose. The rock fell straight onto the beast's back, slamming it down. It screeched and tried to stand. Jace didn't wait. He leaped from the pillar, driving the staff into the ground beside the creature's head. The message was clear. He had won, but he didn't kill. Kylri raised her hand. The beast was pulled, back by chains. The crowd above cheered softly. Jace stepped back, breathing hard. His hands shook, but he stayed standing. Kylri nodded once. You passed, she said, but not just with strength, with restraint. An elder walked forward from the shadows. Few choose mercy when blood is demanded. You chose it without fear. That is rare. Jace lowered his staff and nodded. I didn't come to kill. I came to be seen. The elder touched his shoulder lightly before turning back. The alien girl smiled faintly. She hadn't spoken during the trial, but her eyes told him everything. She had believed in him before the others did. And now, the walls that once held him down were beginning to crack. Kylri stepped closer. Now you may ask your question before the circle, but remember, every answer has a cost. The chamber of the circle was silent. Elders sat in a circle carved into the mountain itself. Each one wore robes marked with old symbols. Crystals floated behind their chairs, humming with soft energy. Jace stood in the center, breathing slow but steady. Kylri stood at his side. She no longer held her spear. The weapon rested behind her, untouched. Her face held no anger now, only curiosity. Jace looked at each elder, unsure which one to speak to first. Then the eldest among them raised a hand. You have passed the trial of worth, the elder said. You may ask one question. Ask wisely. Jace nodded and stepped forward. Why was I taken? Why attack Earth? The air thickened. Whispers rose among the council. Some looked away. Others stared at him harder. The elder did not answer at once. He stood slowly and walked toward Jace. Because your kind touched something they should not have, an ancient beacon buried deep beneath your world. You awakened something that had slept for ages, and we feared what followed. Jace frowned. You attacked first. You destroyed cities. You didn't ask questions. You erased families. The elder nodded slowly. Yes, and in doing so, we may have become the enemy we feared. But our fear was not born from lies. It was born from the past. Kael'ri stepped forward. Long ago there was a human, a leader of flame and storm. He nearly broke our galaxy. His army used technology that bent time itself. He was defeated, but his name was never forgotten. His symbol was the same as the one on your broken blade. Jace remembered the rusted sword he had picked up in the ruins. The strange symbol near the hilt. A shape like an open eye within a star. He had thought it was decoration. Now he realized it was a warning. A mark carried through history without his knowing. I don't know who that was, he said. But I'm not him. I bleed. I fall. I break. But I don't burn planets. Kael'ri met his gaze. Then prove it. Not just here, but in front of all who fear your kind. Help us stop the real threat before it returns. The chamber lights dimmed. A large map appeared in the air. It showed a system near the edge of Valari space. This world, an elder said, pointing, has gone silent. No signal. No light. Only shadows. We believe the darkness has awakened there. Go with our warriors. Find out the truth. Jace turned toward Kael'ri. And if I do this? If I survive? She stepped closer. Then the galaxy may learn to see humans differently. Then you may become more than just a survivor. You may become the bridge between what was and what could be. He nodded slowly. It wasn't the mission he had chosen, but maybe it was the one he needed. The alien girl placed a small crystal in his hand. It will guide you, but it only listens to those who lead with heart, not hate. Jace looked at the map again. The path ahead was dark and unknown, but he was no longer alone. Kael'ri, the girl, and even some of the elders now watched him not with fear, but with hope, and that hope was heavier than any blade he had ever carried. The ship they gave Jace was old but fast. It moved through the stars like a quiet shadow. Kael'ri flew beside him in her own fighter, silent and sharp. The alien girl sat behind Jace, monitoring signals. The map glowed before them, leading them toward the lost world. Jace watched the stars blur past the window. He still didn't fully understand why they trusted him. Maybe it wasn't trust, maybe it was desperation. But whatever it was, he wasn't going to waste it. He had asked for a chance, and now it had arrived. The planet came into view, covered in thick clouds and flickering storms. No lights blinked on its surface. No signal answered their call. It looked dead. But Jace felt something in his chest. A pull, like the planet itself was watching him. They landed near the ruins of an old Valari outpost. Buildings lay broken and half buried in black soil. Wind howled through twisted towers. Kael'ri drew her weapon. The girl raised her scanner. Jace stepped forward first, blade in hand, heart steady. Inside the base, the walls were scorched. Doors were torn open. Marks covered the floor, drag lines, burned streaks, and deep claw cuts. Whatever came through here didn't just destroy, it hunted, and it was still nearby. Jace could feel it. Suddenly the scanner beeped. The girl pointed down a hallway. Something moved, she said. Kael'ri nodded, her spear ready. They moved together, one step at a time. The hallway was tight, the walls breathing with faint heat. Then a whisper echoed through the vents. It wasn't a voice. It was a presence, cold and old. Jace felt it crawl up his spine. His hand tightened around his blade. The whisper grew louder, like wind inside bone. Then from the dark, a shape stepped forward. It wasn't Valari. It wasn't human. It was something forgotten. Its body was long, stretched like shadows made solid. Its face held no eyes, only a wide mouth full of flickering red light. It didn't walk. It glided. The girl gasped and stepped back. Kyelari held her ground. Jace stepped between them, facing the thing directly. The creature didn't attack. It tilted its head, watching him. Then it spoke, but not in words, in thoughts. Images flooded Jace's mind. Battles long ago. Human ships falling. Valari cities burning. And at the center of it all, the same symbol from his sword. "You are the key," the voice said inside his mind. "The door has been opened. The path returns. The fire comes again." Jace gritted his teeth. "I'm not your weapon," he said. "I'm not your enemy." The creature hissed and backed away, vanishing into the floor. Kyelari grabbed Jace's arm. "What did it say to you?" He shook his head slowly. "It thinks I'm part of something bigger, something ancient, but I don't want its war." The girl looked at the scanner. More are waking. That was only the first. They ran back to the ship. The ground trembled behind them. Shapes moved in the fog. Red eyes blinked in the dark. Kyelari's ship fired at the shadows, clearing a path. Jace climbed into the pilot seat. "We need to warn the Circle," he said. "This is more than a threat. It's a return." As they lifted into the sky, the clouds opened and lightning struck the old ruins. The world below screamed without sound. And in that scream, Jace heard the truth. This wasn't just his trial anymore. It was the beginning of something far greater. The return to Valari Prime was met with silence. No celebrations, no cheers, only guarded eyes and tense hands. The ship landed in the royal hangar, and soldiers surrounded it. Kyelari stepped out first, followed by Jace and the alien girl. The Circle was already waiting. The elders stood in formation, their faces grim. Jace stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We found the source," he said. "But it's not just one creature. There are many. They were sleeping. Now they are awake." The elders said nothing. The silence pressed like a storm. Kyelari spoke next. "He's telling the truth. They are ancient, older than both our races, and they remember war. We must prepare now, or we will fall before they rise fully." An elder stepped forward. His eyes were dark and his voice low. "You brought the warning. Now bring the answer." Jace looked at his hands. He wasn't sure what answer they wanted. He was just a man who survived, a fighter with no army. But something in him had changed. The creatures didn't attack him. They saw him as a key. He didn't want that role, but it was his now. "I don't lead armies," he said. "I don't have fleets. But I'll stand in front if that's what it takes. I'll fight with what I have. Even if it's just this old blade and stubborn hope," the elders murmured among themselves. Then they turned to Kyelari. "You believe in him?" one asked. She nodded once. "He fought me. He faced the trial. He saved my warriors and spared my life when he didn't have to. He doesn't want power. That's why he should have it." The room fell silent again. Then one elder raised his staff. "We will prepare," he said. "And you will lead the first strike. You three will go to the dark edge and stop the roots before they grow. If you fail, the galaxy follows." Jace nodded, his jaw tight. He didn't feel ready. But waiting had never saved anyone. They gave him a new suit, made of light Valari, alloy, strong but flexible. It shimmered with deep blue lines and carried the mark of both worlds. Kyelari handed him a fresh weapon, still shaped like a blade but now humming with soft energy. "Yours now," she said. "Use it wisely." The alien girl, quiet as always, walked beside him with her bone knife. She didn't need many words. Her loyalty spoke loud enough. She placed a small charm in his hand before they boarded the ship. It was carved with the symbol of her tribe, a gift of trust. Their mission was clear. Reach the far system. Enter the dark zone. Plant a beacon to trap the rising swarm. Delay them. Slow them. Give the galaxy time to unite. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was all they had. Jace didn't ask for more. As the ship lifted from the hangar, Kayleigh looked at him. "You still don't look like a leader," she said. He smiled faintly. "That's because I'm not. I'm just a guy who got slapped and decided not to. Stay down." Her lips curved slightly. "Then don't fall this time." The stars opened before them, a path of fire and silence. The storm ahead would test every piece of them. But they were not alone. Not anymore. And Jace knew one thing with absolute clarity. The final fight was coming, and he would meet it standing. The ship arrived at the edge of known space. Before them was the dead system, wrapped in shadows. No stars pierced the thick black clouds. No light moved. Only stillness. The darkness pulsed like a living thing, waiting. Jace stood at the front window, gripping the side rail. Kayleigh stood behind him, her armor shining in the dim blue light. The alien girl checked the beacon device. It blinked slowly, counting, down to activation. 1 drop, 1 moment. That was all they needed. They landed near a broken satellite half buried in ice. The air outside was sharp and full of static. Their boots crunched on black snow. Kayleigh walked ahead, scanning the area. Jace kept close to the girl. The wind screamed between the wreckage like a warning. Then the ground opened. A roar came from below. The dark creatures burst from beneath the snow, twisting like smoke with teeth. Jace didn't wait. He drew his blade and charged forward. Kayleigh spun her spear in perfect arcs. The girl held her position and placed the beacon on the ground. Detour. Monsters swarmed from every direction. Jace fought without thinking. His arms moved on instinct. Every swing of the blade cut light through the dark. One creature leapt at him. He kicked it back and struck it down. The snow burned where they fell. Kayleigh fought beside him without a word. They moved like two sides of the same storm. She struck high, he struck low. Still the creatures kept coming. Their bodies reformed after every blow. But something was changing. The beacon pulsed faster. The alien girl shouted, "It's almost ready." Her voice was steady. Her hands did not shake. She pressed the final code into the device. A loud hum rose from the ground. The creatures paused. Their heads turned toward the sound. Then they charged together. Jace ran to the beacon. He slammed his blade into the frozen ground beside it. "This ends here," he said. The creatures struck, but the blade glowed brighter. A wave of energy exploded outward, throwing them all back. The beacon activated with a thunderous ring. Bright dome of light spread across the ruins. The monsters screamed and twisted in pain. Their shadows burned into smoke. Kayleigh pulled Jace back just before the energy flash reached them. The alien girl shielded her face. Then everything fell silent. The snow melted. The air cleared. The sky above flickered with returning stars. The darkness was gone. The threat was sealed for now, but the cost had not been small. Jace dropped, to one knee exhausted. His blade was cracked, his hands were bloody. But he smiled. Kayleigh knelt beside him. "You did it," she said. He looked at her and shook his head. "We did it." She touched his shoulder. "The galaxy will remember this day." The alien girl stood nearby, holding the charm he had carried. She placed it around his neck. The ship took off hours later. Their message had already been sent. Across star systems, leaders listened. Humans were no longer feared. They were no longer hunted. They were something else now, something remembered, something respected. Jace stood at the window again. The stars were clear. He held the cracked blade in his hands. It had survived as he had. Damaged, but not broken. Changed, but still strong. Kayleigh stood beside him. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. He looked at her and smiled. Still, Think I'm just a human, he asked. She smirked. Then you'll love what I do next.